last few years I noticed in New Zealand sunsets have been a lot richer. My name's Andrew, by the way. And we're in March 2023. We've got a new Prime Minister now, Chris Hipkins, after we've had Jacinda Ardern. I've had a very different 2.5 months than I've ever had before. Some tragic things have happened. On the 1st of January, my girlfriend Anita, she had some mental health problems, which seemed to come on the back of a lot of family problems. We were staying in her mother's flat, and I was having difficulty communicating with her mother's Australian family. I think it's important to mention that I had this relationship with, by way of Messenger, Facebook, with Anita's mother, Kay, when she used to go on holidays to Australia. We had a lot of conversations, but I sort of didn't think I was getting a fair deal with the way I was being talked to and treated by her. I felt we had a lot of problems that should have been addressed earlier, but it's never the way, is it? Problems usually only get addressed out of necessity. When Anita got put into the hospital on the first day, it was like 1st or 2nd of January, the decision was made to ask me to leave the hospital because of a quotation marks accusation. I was never told the exact nature of the accusations, because I found out that it was a little bit more than what I was told. So, as Anita's partner, husband, however you want to call it, my relationship between a man and a woman that has been faithful and existed for over 10 years, it was a reason for the psychiatric hospital to essentially block my presence from Anita, and at the same time Kay kicked me out of the flat and gave me an eviction type of notice. She actually wanted to sell her house, that's why she wanted me out. Well, that was very convenient to actually, it was the doctor who told her, instructed her to ask me to leave. So it was I believe it was a bit of a misuse of the hospital allegation process, but it all got covered up. So Anita was in there a few months, and then she got discharged back to her mum's flat. I went back to see her for a week to help look after her, because mum wasn't really able to manage Anita when she was having moments where she went back into kind of not being aware of what she was doing. And then that ended with a bit of an argument, because I didn't think Anita was playing fair. She wasn't loving her husband or honouring her mother, and I didn't think the mother really cared so much for her daughter. And then I was asked to leave. Kay said she'd ring the police if I didn't. And I was quite keen to go anyway. She probably didn't ring the police. It's just a threat. And even if she did, it's just going to end up being one of those common call-outs for domestics that police have. Pretty crazy. Unfortunately, a few days later, Anita got readmitted to Ward 27 on the second admission. And unfortunately for me, or unfortunately for Ward 27, they persisted in the unjust banning and decided not to let me visit or call Anita again, the second admission. So they maintained their position that they'd locked in, even though the truth of the matter is that they were thinking of were very strange to the truth, because they weren't true at all. That's put myself in a lot of distress, but I've been surviving so far. My van was out of action for the last week, and thanks to the New Zealand people, their government helped me out, because they recognised the hardship and the problem of the situation. So they came to the table and let me borrow money to pay for the mechanic's work. And so, I thank New Zealand people for that. Ministry of Social Development, as they call it. Others call it Work and Income. I think Work and Income is a branch of Ministry of Social Development. So, I needed help, and I received help there. Thank you, New Zealand. Part of the system or the institutions worked to help me out there, but unfortunately the medical institution really made some mistakes that got them in trouble internally, but they didn't want to correct their mistake, and it was very unjust. They haven't fixed it, but they perpetuated something I believe was a misuse of power to stop a husband from checking in on the welfare of his wife for no good reason. That's a misuse of authority. It's an abuse of authority. Using their own law, forcing it with a bit of fraud and coercion and threat to trespass me or get me arrested if I try to visit her. And this is just, I've got to hold them to account for that. Two wrongs don't make it right, and it's quite risky, and I wouldn't think that people that do such things really care much. You'd think they do care. A place that looks after weak and vulnerable people who are not of sound mind. You'd think think they would care about the important people in that person's life. You'd think they'd read between the lines instead of following a law which clearly was unjust, because this is a special relationship. There wouldn't be very many in law, there wouldn't be very many cases like this, and they've jammed it in there to really violate and disrespect my relationship with Anita. So it makes you wonder how this doctor can ever have a therapeutic relationship with my wife after he's treated me this way. So I think we want to expose the dark things that go on in these institutions and uphold justice and uprightness, and expose the corruption and the injustice that exists in the intricacies of the law. What more can I say?